I've been kind of watching it probably from about mid-February on into March with growing concern. My background, I was both a military intelligence officer, but I was also a civil affairs officer in the military. And so pandemic illness is something I've been connected to both professionally, but also academically. My background is Native American history. And if you know anything about Native American history, you know that the impact of endemic disease, even to the present, has been just catastrophic for those communities, particularly during the colonial period. Native Americans were by definition a virgin population to many diseases that Europeans brought. So I've had both personal and professional interest in this area, and I grew alarmed as I saw the developments occurring in China, of course, and then of course in Italy, where my wife has family members. So we were keeping very close track in Italy about what was happening there. About the same time, of course, that's when Maryland started getting progressively involved. And for me, it was a bit of a struggle because I felt like things weren't moving fast enough to protect people. But then finally, the state really got involved, and particularly when the school districts made their decision, which I think was very courageous at the time, that finally supported what I wanted to do in terms of closing our campus pretty much, getting people home and operating remotely. So by late March, we were totally off campus. We were operating remotely. We extended our spring break by a week, which gave our faculty the time they needed to pivot to taking what we could online. And then of course, everything that required face-to-face instruction, we just stopped doing. And within about a 2-week period, we completely pivoted to a pretty remarkable point to provide our students at least the minimal circumstances for them to complete successfully their spring semester. We're about a week or so away from the point of closing the semester, and certainly we've had students that have been very challenged by access and technology issues. We've tried to deal with those as well as we possibly could. But in general, and this is anecdotal at this point, we feel that most of our students have done very well, and a majority of them are going to complete as they would have wanted to from earlier in the semester.
Is there a deadline on when you have to make a decision on the fall?
At this point, that's very fluid and very volatile. We obviously are going to have a fall semester. I'm very happy to say our summer semester is looking very healthy in terms of enrollment. We have over 320 students who have enrolled for summer term, which is very positive for us. That's only slightly lower than last year. And last year was a high for us. We had very high enrollment for summer last year. So we're about 10% below where we were, kind of in a rolling average over the last 3 years. But I think that's a very strong vote of confidence with our students in the fact that our online product is viable for them. And we're very, very pleased that our enrollment looks as positive as it does for summer.
And when you look at your bottom line in terms of your budget projections and what you can expect from the state, how is that all shaking out?
Well, our best news is our counties flat funded us with last year for their part of our budget, which is about a third of our budget. We are planning for flat enrollment as a matter of budgetary planning for fall, which gets us 2/3 of the way there. And we're still waiting on state appropriation, which we do believe it probably will be flat. We're not sure yet. The legislative function of the budget, the budget was passed by the legislature. We were hoping for an increase in our CADE formula funding for next year, but we did not incorporate that increase into our budget. So if we're flat funded by the state, we should be okay. But we haven't heard anything on that one yet. So that's kind of the last question mark for us, in addition to enrollment, is our state funding, which we're still waiting to hear on.
Could you give us a sense of how your faculty are handling all this?
Well, in terms of the instruction piece, about 30% of our programs and classes, I should say our courses, were online already. So that left a vast majority of our classes and instruction for spring had to be transitioned in a very short period of time by both full and part-time faculty to a variety of means online. Some faculty took very, what I'd call low-tech approaches to running their classes where they did basically email submissions if there were reading courses where students read books and do papers and that kind of thing. But we also had faculty that went full bore with their labs, and our science faculty, without exception, I believe, went all to virtual labs, and everything from anatomy and physiology to biology and the other lab courses we offer. There's a lot of good products out there, some of which we're already using. And then we had faculty that were experienced with this, coach those that weren't. And then we have a fairly robust support structure in our Learning Resource Center run by what you used to call the library operations. We have a full-time online facilitator who helps faculty migrate their curriculum onto online formats. We use a product called Canvas, which is our learning platform, which was widely available already. All classes have a shell, and Canvas is basically an online product where basically students have their syllabi already there, there's course information there, and then Canvas is a platform which you can actually add curriculum, labs, chat groups, all those kinds of things that round out the whole online experience. So in terms of instruction, I think faculty were very responsive to the demand that we had to respond to this unprecedented situation. But I think like everybody, they're struggling with not seeing their students every day. We obviously had to cancel our traditional commencement. That's been a very big challenge for us to deal with because it's just never happened. But we're going to be doing a virtual commencement. It will be recorded. And we're going to basically have some speeches. I'm giving an address, very short one. We're going to have the reading of names, and then we're going to have the conferring of degrees and the awarding of our student awards, the Harrison Awards. We have 2 students this year that were getting Harrison Awards. So we are going to try to do some level of recognition for students, and then we're shipping them a package that includes some mementos and some messages so that they have some personal engagement in terms of recognizing their accomplishments this year. And then we're inviting them back next summer or next spring, next May, for a special convocation that will allow them to come back to campus if they wish to publicly graduate.
Well, and in the middle of this, Chesapeake College became the primary testing center for COVID-19.
Well, that's, you know, we're already, we're a potential facility for dealing with any regional or state level emergencies. We were actually activated for the hurricanes season last year once. We didn't have any evacuees show up, but we were prepared to take them on. We were set up to take care of any overflow that came from the regions to the south in Virginia and southern Maryland on the outer shore here. So we're already prepared to be a resource for our local communities. And so serving as a testing center, as it turned out, it was fairly light duty for us. Our public safety officers provided security and traffic direction, but we were fully coordinated with, in particular, Queen Anne's County in terms of their health department. And those discussions began very early on as we tried to determine what the best location was on campus. And of course, by then we were working remotely. So it was a fairly simple process to make that work. Well, we've been in operation now for several weeks. Those testing operations still are by doctor's order only. It's Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays from 10 till 2. And we're generally seeing between anywhere from 35 to 55 tests per day when the center is operating.
But is there anything that you would like to share with the community?
We certainly want to let our community know that we're ready for them, prepared for them. Whether you're a returning student, a new student, a non-traditional student, or an adult learner, we realize people may be looking to retrain or perhaps pick up with a degree that they didn't finish. But we are communicating right now to our local superintendents, to our prospective students, our existing students, about what we will have available for them both summer and fall. We're hoping to do some limited face-to-face instruction for our health sciences over the summer. That's all tentative, but we have developed protocols to provide for small groups of students to be on campus should our conditions permit from state direction, so that we can keep our very vital healthcare provider programs on track.
Thank you, Cliff. Stay well.
You too. be very happy when we get to the other side of this, but I do think there's going to be a lot of differences in the world that we're going into in terms of how we work and where we work when we get out the other side of this.